Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my Phantom Blaster Overlord deck. So after the release of Phantom Dragon Aeon, we finally got the almighty Phantom Blaster Overlord, even though its skill isn't the best. But I am still excited because I've been waiting for a remake of Phantom Blaster Overlord, and it was one of my favorite units of all times, and because it just looks awesome, which is why it's my number one unit for the remakes. And it was actually one of the units that got me into Vanguard alongside with Dragonic Overlord, so I'm very excited to have finally got this new updated deck for Standard. So let's begin with the deck profile. And let's start off with which Force type would I choose? I would recommend Force 1 most of the time. Mainly because Shadow Paladins kind of lack rear guard, so you're not going to really have that much power, which is why I would choose Force 1. But if you're playing against a non-control type deck, I could say Force 2 is pretty decent too. Because, first of all, Phantom Blaster Overlord has a skill that will make itself have a default crit of 2. And what you can do is you can put these in the front row circle, your Force 2s, and make your whole entire front row with extra crits. So that'll be 3 attacks, all crit of 2, and this will make your opponent need to decide whether they take the 2 crit in the face, because that's not funny. So now let's begin with the deck profile. And of course we start off with the front card, our main first ride target, Phantom Blaster Dragon. And I did say first ride target, but you do not need to run 4 of these because you've got one card that will search this out right away and right as your Vanguard. So you don't need to run 4 of these. But its skill is Counterblast 1, retire 3 of your rear guards, plus 15k, 1 crit. Your opponent chooses 3 of their rear guards and retire them. And then its second skill is that your opponent has no rear guards, so blast 1, grade 3, and then your opponent takes 1 damage. But you're not going to use any of these skills. I'm just going to let you know right now. And it's kind of outdated anyway. And then to our main boss card, we go to Phantom Blaster Overlord, 4 copies. So its first skill is if you have Phantom Blaster Dragon Soul, which is why you want Phantom Blaster Dragon first, but like I said, you can search this out right away and right as your Vanguard, so you don't need to worry about that. It gets plus 10k power during your turn, and its critical is set as 2. And that's what I mean that you can use Force 2. Yes, Force 2 will also make the unit on top of it be set as 2, but what you can do is you put it at your front row circles, so you have all 3 attacks as crit set as 2. So that's pretty pressuring. Or should I say 4 attacks, because its second skill is when this card attacks, cost Counterblast 1, choose any number of your own rear guards, and retire them, of course, and then your opponent chooses the same number and retire them. And then you call 1 blaster card from your deck to rearguard with a 10k power buff until the end of the turn. So that's 4 attacks in 1 turn in many occasions. So it's kind of underwhelming. It does enable multi-attack, not as good as Mortared Phantom, but I would say it's okay. Not a skill I was expecting, because I was expecting the Phantom Blaster Dragon playstyle to be if your opponent has no rear guards. So I was expecting that type of skill on this one. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't have that Phantom Blaster Dragon playstyle, but I will take it. It enables multi-attack, and in some cases this is very similar to Gust Blaster Dragon, where it gains a crit if you have a grade 3 in Soul that is a blaster. In many occasions it's going to be Gust Plus. It's going to be Phantom Blaster Dragon anyway, and it also lets you retire one of your opponent's rear guards and gain an extra card, but this one lets you call one instead, which is 1 more attack. So there is some debates on which one is much better, but this one enables more attacks while Gust Blaster Dragon gets more crits. So it's all up to you if you want to play this as a Gust Blaster Dragon deck or Phantom Blaster Overlord deck. And mine is Phantom Blaster Overlord. Next, for my last of my grade 3s, it's going to be all up to you on your last grade 3. I choose to run 2 Cleric Sword Dragon. Like I said before, this is not much of a finisher, and it's kind of underwhelming. It enables multi-attack, yes, but this deck lacks a really good finisher, and you can choose like pretty much any card you want. If you want to go full blaster lineup, you can go for Gust Blaster Dragon. If you want to go mix it along with your Blaster Dark, which you're going to be running 4 Blaster Darks anyway, you can go for Mordred Phantom. But I don't like Mordred Phantom mainly because it heavily relies on having Blaster Dark. And I do not like cards that heavily relies on a specific card to function. So I chose Cleric Sword instead, which can withstand itself. And in many cases, it's much more consistent than Mordred Phantom because you just need to rely on having 7 grade 1s in your drop zone. But in my opinion, it's more consistent and kind of better than Mordred Phantom in many cases. So I rather have Cleric Sword Dragon. So that's for my grade 3 lineup. And now for my grade 2 lineup, we go to 4 Blaster Darks. You must have 4 of these because this is going to be part of your Superior Ride engine. And it's also another Blaster card, so that's why you run 4. But skills are, when players counterblast 1, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards and retires it. So this can combo with Phantom Blaster Overlord because Phantom Blaster Overlord can just retire something, and then you call this, and then you can use this to do another retire, but most of the time you're not going to do that. And then second skill, which you're not going to be using anyway, because you're going to be superior riding. If your opponent has no rear guards, you can discard 1 card, and this card gets Twin Drive during the turn. It's a pretty decent card back in the day, but I'm going to say that you're not going to use its second skill. You mainly use this card because it's part of the Superior Ride engine, so that's why you want to run 4. Next, I run Drag Wizard Leopold. So, it's the new card that lets you counterblast 1 and search your deck for 1 grade 1 and call it when it's on place. So, this searches out any grade 1 you want. That's why you should just run 4. There are some debates on like you could run 2 Maka and 2 of this, but that's only because there's Karen. But this card just straight up search it, while Maka needs to call a card from your hand just to get the extra plus. So I don't like that at all, and I prefer direct searching. So 4 of these it is. And what you can do actually is that you can call the Nemen with this skill, and then rest the Nemen to call another one. So that's a +2 in total from this one card. That's a lot of value. And then for my last grade 2, I run Dump Hood Dragon. If your Vanguard is Blaster, this card gets plus 5k. Remember that this is a 5k unit, so it's searchable with Nemen. But the second skill is where it's most important, and which is why I could say that you could run this with Mordred. So what it does is Soul Blast 1, retire itself, search your deck for 1 Blaster Dark, and add it to your hand. That's the reason why this card can be really good with a Mordred. But like I said, I don't like Mordred mainly because it heavily relies on Blaster Dark. And I'm using this card for the Blaster Dark searching because you will need it as your Vanguard. And now that's it for my grade 2 lineup. And now to my grade 1 lineup, I run Transient Revenger. You can run Blaster Javelin if you want more blasters for Phantom Blaster Overlord to call, but most of the time you're not going to even call that card at all. And I haven't been having any issues with not being able to call blaster units, so this should be fine. This card lets you superior call a Blaster Dark from your drop zone with 1 counterblasting 1 and putting it to Soul. And that Blaster Dark will also get extra 5k, and when this card boosts, plus 3k. So in many occasions, this card is way better than Blaster Javelin. But Blaster Javelin has the Blaster card in its name, so you can choose Blaster Javelin instead. But one of the issues that this deck kind of has is that it's going to Soul Blast a lot. So this card, being able to put itself to Soul to get yourself an intercept is very helpful, and the plus side of putting it to Soul is also very helpful. So I'm choosing to run this card over Blaster Javelin. Next, the 2 Karens, because you could just combo this with Leopold. Just use Leopold, Spirit Call this. This card will give you a counter charge. So you can do that. Next, grade 3 Searcher, because grade 3 Searcher. I'm not going to play 4 of these because I'm not going to replace 2 of them one day after spending like almost $20 per copy. So I'm not going to do that. So 2 is already enough anyway. Next, for the most essential grade 1, 4 Skull Witch Nemen. It's literally a free call. Rest itself, call 5k unit, cannot use the same card ability for the same turn. So of course you run 4. And it's because it also starts your engine because your next card, Freezing Witch Bendy. This is the main card that you want to see in early game. But it is searchable with Nemen because it's a 5k unit. So what it does is, if you have a unit with Blaster card in its card name on your Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1, retire itself, Superior Ride the Phantom Blaster Dragon with its abilities lost during the turn. Yeah, this is why I said you do not need to run 4 Phantom Blaster Dragons, because This card directly searches it and rides it, so it's going to speed you up for 1 grade. And this is why you also run 4 Blaster Darks, because you want to see this as soon as possible. And this card is also a 5k unit, so it's searchable with Nemin. But once its purpose is served, you don't really need it anymore. So that's why I run 3, but you do want to still see it as soon as possible, because you don't want to rely on Nemin to search this out most of the time in some cases. Because if you're playing against a control-based clan, and your opponent gets rid of all your Nemins, and most likely you're only one, because if you have to use it to call Dump Hood to search out your Blaster Dart, then you're gonna really have a tough time getting the engine off. So you do not want to rely on having that one Nemin calling everything. So I run 3 copies of these just in case, so I could get my Phantom Blaster Dragon much easier. And now finally, the 2 Abyssal Owl. It's just another sword breaker, pretty much does the same thing, but it also works on Vanguard, so that's a bonus. And you can also pay different costs instead of a counter blast. If you have the same grade as your opponent's Vanguard, you can Soul Blast instead. So if both players are the same grade, you can Soul Blast instead. So this also works on Vanguard. So if you have to ride this on while you go second, you can get an extra draw. And then for my starter, run whatever you want. And then I go for the 8 crits, the 4 draw PGs, and the 4 heals. So that is my Phantom Blaster Overlord deck. After waiting for months for Phantom Dragon Aeon to be released, we finally got Phantom Blaster Overlord. Been excited to finally update this deck. And with its new Superior Ride engine, I could probably make something creative with Premium with this deck. And I'll probably have that soon. But other than that, have a nice day.